Hey everyone, Dave here. I had the chance to get early access to check out the brand new Disney Plus original live action remake of Pinocchio, which of course has just hit the streaming service for Disney Plus Day 2022. And in this video, I'm going to be going over all of my thoughts on the brand new movie. But before I do, I want to hear from you. I want to know, what are your thoughts on the movie? If you've had a chance to see it, did you love it? If you haven't seen it just yet, how excited for it are you? As always, join the conversation and fire away down in the comments below. Academy Award winner Robert Zemeckis directs this live-action CGI retelling of the beloved tale of a wooden puppet who embarks on a thrilling adventure to become a real boy. Tom Hanks stars as Geppetto, the woodcarver who builds and treats Pinocchio as if he were his real son. It's that time of year again where we're getting our annual, sometimes biannual, sometimes triannual Disney live-action remake of an animated classic. This time around, we're going right back to the very beginning and tackling the second animated movie the Walt Disney Company ever made, and that was, of course, Pinocchio. Now, before we get into my review, I feel like I do have to put like a little disclaimer at the beginning here. I feel like I have to do this every time I reveal one of those movies because these are so controversial. People either really, really love them, or people just absolutely hate them. I feel like there's kind of no in between with these movies. Me, I like them. I like them for the most part. I've enjoyed pretty much all of these to varying degrees. There are ones that I really don't like, there are ones that I really love, and there are ones that I think are like simply okay. Now, I totally get the reason why they do these movies, because they are updating these stories for new generations. If you don't like these movies, that's fine. You can go back and rewatch the original one. No one's saying, well, this new one exists now, this other one doesn't exist anymore. Like, if Disney Plus dropped this movie today and decided to take down the original 1940 version off Disney Plus forever, sorry, this is the only version you can ever watch on Disney Plus ever again, there'd be a bit of an issue, but they're both gonna sit there side by side. You can choose whatever one you want to watch, and that's fine. With that out the way, I feel like I just have to say that every damn time I review one of these movies. Let's just talk about Pinocchio. Now, this is one that I was very looking forward to, and I know a lot of you out there are looking forward to it as well. This is one of my favorite Disney animated films of all time. I love this film. I grew up with it. I have a huge connection to it, but I was looking forward to the live action remake because I do enjoy a lot of what these things bring to the table. Now, I will say, I think these work best when they kind of put a new little spin on the tale. If they go too far away from the original source, I have a little bit of an issue. If they're too close to the original source, I have a bit of an issue because then it becomes like, why did you need to do it this way? I feel like you need to have that mix of kind of iconic imagery, traditional storytelling, the classic characters, all these things kind of need to be in that little ball. This still needs to be a recognizably Disney take on that classic, not just some generic new version of it. But then you also like if they add in little new sprinkles of things that might bulk up the character's backstory, bulk up the narrative, add some kind of new things to explore that maybe they couldn't explore in animation or something like that. That's how I love these movies. Now, Pinocchio does its best to do this. Of course, we have Pinocchio, who looks basically exactly like he did in the original animated movie, and to me, I think that is great. We've got Geppetto, who looks very, very much like he did in the original movie. When we saw the trailer, we already know that there are so many scenes in this movie, so many shots are kind of copied verbatim. This is a film that pretty much retells the original version of the movie beat by beat. Now, the biggest differences here is that some of the scenes have been shortened, some of the scenes have been expanded, some of the scenes have been taken out altogether. For example, the Blue Fairy doesn't actually have as big of a role in this movie as she did in the original animated classic. Same with characters like Honest John and Gideon. You know, scenes like the scene with the Coachman and Honest John are not here. You know, some of the scenes with Stromboli and Pinocchio aren't really here in the way they were in the original movie. As I said, some of the scenes have been expanded, and I kind of like the expansions here. Particularly, the opening of the movie is a little bit longer than the opening of the original film. We kind of get a little bit more of a deeper backstory of Geppetto. We understand a little bit more why he's building this little wooden boy, and we kind of get a little bit of his backstory, his history, which I thought was really nice. It had this really beautiful kind of touch and greater stakes to the movie in some respect. I thought that was really great. And then we kind of get to the bits, when you get rid of a scene, you get rid of like a major scene, there's a gaping hole in the movie. So they've started to add like new characters. There is a new seagull, it kind of helps them along a little bit. We also get a new marionette character in here as well. There's a human character who kind of performs as the marionette and does like a ventriloquist kind of thing. We've seen her in the trailers as well. Pinocchio forms a bond with both of these characters. That adds kind of a more human element to it as well, which is kind of interesting. We've also got, of course, musical numbers in this movie. The original film had some musical numbers in it. Those songs are here as well. I feel like they're not in it very long. You only get kind of a little... The Disney remakes have kind of been guilty of doing this a lot in the past, where they go, yeah, we know we've got this big song that's coming up, but then we only use like a little snippet of it. They don't go all out and do like a huge musical number. I kind of felt like that's what they did with this movie here, which is a little bit disappointing in some respect. We've also got some new songs in here too, which I just didn't think were very good at all. I'm not a huge fan of musicals, you know that, and I just think the new music just didn't feel in the same style as the older music. I felt like it didn't fit the movie. There's a song with the Coachman and all the kids on the way to Pleasure Island that felt very Annie. Just did not work for me. You step back and you look at this and you go, why? Like half of the stuff that was added, it almost feels like, let's add stuff for the sake of adding stuff. Let's add stuff for the sake of just putting some new stuff in here without kind of like organically finding new areas to explore in this story. I feel like it just all felt just so like meh. And again, I get it. Some of this stuff does add kind of added depth and stuff, but that original film was just perfect as it was. That is like one of the most perfect movies, not just animated film, perfect movies of all time, because the narrative is so tight, the character work is so tight. And look, this movie is only like 5 minutes longer than the original one. It is literally almost the exact same length as the animated film. So it's not like, you know, they've taken that story and expanded the length of it. They have taken the story and literally just chopped stuff out for the sake of adding new stuff into it, and then it's the same length. So again, this movie is skirting this fine line of how much do you move away from the original source? How much do you stay close to the original source? And again, I like it when they make changes and stuff, but when it feels more organic is when it works the best. Find a new way to tell this story in the Disney style and like push it a little bit further and try and do something, you know, a little bit more exciting with it. But it did just feel very much samey, but it also felt like it didn't have the magic of the original movie. There was just that magic spark missing. And whether, I don't know, maybe that is just that nostalgia factor, that this is a kind of a different thing. You don't have that nostalgia with it, but I just felt like it didn't have that same magic. It didn't have that same beauty and charm. Thematically as well, it's kind of a little bit different. That the original animated film is very dark, goes to some very, very dark places. Now, this movie doesn't really hold back. We have the whole scene at Pleasure Island at the end of the movie, you know, where all the kids turn to donkeys and stuff like that. That is still very much here. The Pleasure Island sequence actually is another sequence that does get a fairly substantial expansion in this, and I thought that was really cool. I like the way that they explored Pleasure Island in a way we didn't get to in the original animated movie, the way we probably couldn't have in animation. Where it doesn't hold back on these ideas of like kids turning into donkeys and stuff, the way that it's presented kind of isn't as, you know, full on. That kind of terror and that real creepiness of the original movie just wasn't here to that full extent that I really would have hoped them to push here. Robert Zemeckis was a terrific choice of director for this, I think, and Alan Silvestri for the score as well. It really does have that really beautiful. The magic that is in this movie comes from Silvestri's score and Zemeckis' directing of this movie. I think that was just absolutely spot on. Tom Hanks, again, as I said earlier, is really wonderful in this movie as well. I just love watching Tom Hanks at work, whatever he's in. I just think he is just so fun. But in some respects, you kind of get the feeling that in this movie, he has like literally walked off the set of Elvis, put on a funny wig and a funny mustache, been on that set for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then cashed his check and gone home. You know, there's that old thing in acting, which is you do one for them and then you do one for me. I feel like Pinocchio is a movie that Tom Hanks has done for them. Actors are people, they gotta live as well. They gotta cash a check, they gotta put food on the table, they gotta eat, they gotta live. I'm not gonna judge the man for doing that, but it just kind of does feel like this is one of the more lacking Tom Hanks performances, unfortunately. I think he's fun in this. I think he's a really good choice for Geppetto, and he's fun, but again, don't expect like the most miraculous, like Oscar-winning Tom Hanks performance out of this movie. Cynthia Erivo as the Blue Fairy, I think just absolutely knocked it out of the park. She is a terrific performer whose work I admire deeply. When you hear her sing When You Wish Upon a Star, it's just like mind-blowing. And Luke Evans is playing the Coachman. You would not, if I did not know this was Luke Evans, I would not know who this was. It is the transformative performance of the film, and I think he did just a terrific job with this character. At the end of the day though, I think this is a pretty competent remake of the original film. I don't like saying that these are replacements for the original ones, but I do understand that new generations connect with these movies a lot more than they do with a classic animated movie that was made nearly 90 years ago. I totally get that, and I think that this is a really decent alternative for a different kind of viewer. This is a really nice take on the movie. It's got charm, it's got heart, it has got magic, not as much magic as the original movie, but there's certainly a little bit of magic there. It's got good performances, and it's a really decent, nice take on this tale. If you want something that's a little bit darker, something that is a little bit different, again, we have that Guillermo del Toro version of this that's coming out later in the year, and I'm so excited to check that one out myself too, because I can't wait to see del Toro's take on this story. But I think most people are probably going to enjoy Pinocchio. Unless you're so pessimistic that you just hate the idea of these movies, maybe just stay away. But if you're looking forward to this, I say check it out, judge it for yourself, and I'm really hoping that you do love it. And at that, I'll be giving Pinocchio a 3.5 out of 5. Pinocchio is a sweet and charming retelling of a Disney classic, which not only breathes beautiful new life into this iconic tale, while it never manages to even touch the magic of the classic, it's a highly memorable and enjoyable Disney remake. And at that, I want to know your thoughts on Pinocchio. If you've seen it, did you love it? If you haven't seen it just yet, how excited for it are you? As always, join the conversation down in the comments below. If you'd like to keep up with all of my Disney Plus Day and D23 Expo coverage over this coming weekend, make sure to like and subscribe and follow the playlists on your screen. Thanks for watching.